Welcome back to the Blues in D here. What we're going to do is return to our song, the St. Louis Blues, and we're going to add some tricks here for the key of D, much like we did in the key of C. The first one that we're going to look at is adding the D7 chord onto the shuffle. So if you look right away at the very first line of the song, we start off in D, we move to G, come back to D, and then we go to this D7. Now when we shuffle it, it's going to sound like this. 1, 2, here we go. D, 2, 3 to G, back to D, and now we go to the D7. Now you have an option always of just hitting that D7 for 4 beats nice and hard, or you can take the low C by lifting the middle finger up from the regular D chord. You can go either way. But if you want to kind of, I don't know, work the 7 chord into the shuffle, after those 4 beats of D, 1, 2, 3, 4, you're going to give your pinky a workout here. Move that pinky up to the 3rd fret on the A string to hit the D7, bring it back to the 2nd fret, and then take it off entirely, open, and put it back. So all together it sounds like this. We start off 4 beats of D, 1, 2, 3, D7, right? It's only for that section of the D7. You don't ever do that at another time. Most of the time on D, you're just going back and forth. However long you're going to do it, right? Just going back and forth between those 2 notes. It's only when you add the D7, 1, 2, 3, 4, that you kind of extend that up, bring it back, take it off, and put it back on that 2nd fret. All right, let's zoom in a little bit to look more closely at what I'm doing with my left hand there. All right, this first shuffle trick, here I am on D, and I'm going back and forth between these 2 chords here, and then when I add the D7, I move my pinky to the 3rd fret, come back to the 2nd fret, I take it off, then I put it back on. Quite the pinky workout here. So all together it'll sound like this. 4 beats on the shuffle, 1, 2, 3, 4, add the D7, bring it back, take it off, put it back. One more time. Just like that. Trick number 2. At the end of each 12-bar blues cycle, what we want to do is kind of tie it off with a nice little transition from our first chord, that D chord, to the A7 chord. And what we're going to do with this one to kind of make use again of that A string and again give your pinky a little bit of a workout, what we're going to do at the end is we're coming down on the last line. We've got our A7, 2, 3 to G, 1, 2, 3. Then we've got 4 beats on D, back on the shuffle. Then here it comes. Yeah, it's going to sound really cool when it's all done. Let's break it down a little bit. So it's just, again, in the very last bar. This is only happening over about 4 beats. We strum down once on the D chord, and then we bring our fingers in here to the rescue. What I do to make it easy is my ring finger is right next to the A string. So I move it over just 1 string, so it's on the 2nd fret of the A string. I pluck up with one of my fingers, either the index or the middle. I use the middle, but you can use either one. I pluck up. I move it up 1 fret to the 3rd fret on the A string, pluck again, and then I strum my A7 chord, but I add my pinky to the 5th fret of the A string to get that high note there, right? I believe that's a C sharp. Yes, that's a C sharp for that A7 chord. So all together it sounds like this. Strum down on D, move the ring over 2nd, 4th, then strum A7 with the pinky on the 5th fret of A, like that. Once again, 2, ready, and 1. My pinky got to it before my ring finger. You can try out a couple different ways. I've also seen people strum down on D, try the middle, ring, and then pinky to work their way up that A string. There are lots of ways to do it. Find a way that feels comfortable and you can kind of loop it. Let's zoom in though so you can take a closer look at what I'm doing there, and then we'll work it back into the song. Second trick here is where we go from D to A7. I strum down on D. I move my ring finger over to the 2nd fret of A, pluck up with my right hand here, move it up to the 3rd fret, pluck again, then I put my pinky on the 4th fret and I move my index finger to the A7 chord and strum all the way through. Again, I strum down on D, move the ring finger over, pluck, pluck, add the pinky to the 4th fret, index to the A7, and again. Whew! All right, let's continue this workout and try to put this little turnaround at the end of the 3rd line. For starters though, let's just kind of loop it in a regular pattern, just the 4 beats that we use for the turnaround. So what it'll sound like is this. Ready, and a 1 and 2 and. That's how fast it goes. We're just going to loop it a couple times. Ready, and a 1 and 2 and again. D up to A7 again. One more time. Now you can loop that as many times as you need to, and I would do it until you feel pretty comfortable. Then what we're going to do is move back 4 beats. Start with 4 beats on the D shuffle. 2, 3, and then go into it. Right? Let's try that. Ready, and D shuffle. 2, 3, 4, and go. Again, D shuffle. 2, 3, 4, and go. One more time. Again, this is something you loop as many times as you need to feel comfortable. And once you do, then you can move on to the whole last line, starting on A7. Ready, and a 1, 2, 3 to G. A 1, 2, 3, back to the D shuffle. 2, 3, here it comes. Just like that. Try that again. Ready, and 2, one more time and then you'll be golden, I swear. Here we go. A7. Ready, and a 1, 2, 3 to G, and 1, 2, back to D, shuffle. 2, 3, here it comes, and go. Awesome. Just loop that as many times as you need to, and then we'll put it into the whole song. Here we go. Let's try it. Take the whole verse. We're going to put the our little D7 turnaround at the end of the first 2 lines, and then add this little turnaround up to the A7 at the end. We'll see how we do. Here we go. Let's just try a verse with the chords. 1, 2, starting on D, shuffle. 2, 3 to G, a 1, 2, back to D, and 1, 2, 3, D7, and then to G. Shuffle. 2, here comes the turnaround, and go. Try the whole thing again. 1, 2, 3 to G, a 1, 2, 3, back to D, 1, 2, 3, add the D7 here, to G, and back to D, Awesome. All right, let's try to work those 2 those two tricks into the whole song. Okay, let's try a couple verses with the lyrics and these two little tricks. We'll try the first two verses of the St. Louis Blues. Starting on D, let's just vamp a little bit. Ready, and 1, 2, 3. On that shuffle, here we go. I hate to see, to G, that evening sun, D, go down, D7, to G. I hate to see that evening sun, back to D, go down, D7 again, A7, 'cause my baby G is gone, left this town, D. Here comes the turnaround. Second verse. If I'm feeling tomorrow, G, like I feel D today, D7 to G. If I'm feeling tomorrow like I feel D today, D7, A7. I'll pack my truck, G, and make my D get away. 2, 3, here it comes and go. Nice. And then at this point, of course, we go into the B section. So feel free to run through a couple verses as much as you need to kind of get both of those tricks fitting together as best you can. And then you'll be ready for the third trick, which comes at the end. Trick number 3 comes at the very end of the song. So after we've played through the whole thing, what we're gonna do is we've got that very last line. We start on A7, L, C, what, and G have gone so far. And then there's a little trickle down here. From me. And then we get to end it like every blues song ends right on that D, that 7 chord there. So what I'm doing there is the second to last bar. I come down from the A7, right, 4 of that, 4 of G, and then right when I hit the D, coming down from that, I hit the D chord, and then I start the trickle down. I make a G shape around that D chord, move it down a fret, then I go to A7, and then finally I end on the D7 chord, the one that is based on this one where either you take the middle finger out there, or sometimes I just move it over this way to get it. Let's zoom in so you can see a little bit better what I'm doing here in the left hand for that trick. All right, the trickle down starts on the D chord. I strum down, then I move the fingers around to make a regular G shape. Usually the G chord would be over here, but I'm gonna shift everything over one string so it's based around that D chord. Then I move it down 1 fret, move to the A7 chord, and then finally I end on the D7, which I play with my middle and ring here. You can also play with a pointer and ring, or pointer and middle, however you want to do it, but you're gonna be on those 2 strings there. So again, D, trickle, down, A7, and on D7. All right, let's loop this a couple times in a rhythm so we can really get used to it, can feel it. We start here on the D on 1. We go to the first trickle down stop, 2, 3, A7 on 4, D7 on 1 again. There's a little tremolo there. Let's loop it. It'll sound like this. You can join me. Ready, and a 1, 2, 3, 4, D7. Try it again on D. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, again to D. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Nice. Okay, so loop that a couple times. Once that starts to feel comfortable, let's work it out. Now, actually, we're not going to keep it super in time this time around, because as we end the song, we want to purposefully sort of slow it down to that D7 chord where then we really sit on that tremolo. So it's going to sound like this. We'll loop it a couple times here too. A7, ready, and a 1, 2, 3 to G, and 1, 2. Here comes the trickle down, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and hit the D7 tremolo. Nice. Nice. That is sort of the saving grace. You can slow it down as you go for as much dramatic effect as you want. Let's try it again. E7, ready, and 1, 2, 3 to G, 1, 2, 3 to D, trickle down, and D7. Nice. So you can loop that as many times as you need to as well to just get comfortable with that last line. Let's add some words and try the whole verse. So we're coming out of the B section, landing back on the regular D chord. Here we go. Let's try it. From the top of that last verse, I got the St. Louis blues, blue as I can be. 1, 2, here we go. Got the St. Louis blues, G. Oh, don't forget the shuffle. Blue as I, D can be. D7. Don't forget that trick. G. That man's got a heart like a rock cast in D, the C. D7. A7. Or else he wouldn't, G, have gone so far. Trickle down from me and end on your D7. Nice. Let's try that whole verse one more time just before we lose it. Back to D. Ready, got the St. Louis blues to G. Blue as I, D can be. D7. G, that man's got a heart like a rock cast in D, the C. D7. A7, or else he wouldn't, G, have gone so far. Trickle down from me. Nice. Oh, it's so good. I can't wait to play it all the way through with all these little tricks. That'll be in the next video. For the time being, go back to review any of the tricks I went over in this video, and or even the one before where I go over kind of the basic structure of the song. But when you're ready, the next video is going to take you through this same song with all the tricks added. And don't worry, I'll guide you through. It should be fun. So I'll see you there. In the meantime, enjoy your practice.